I could say I decided to do this because I'm a couple weeks behind and I need to catch up. But the truth is, someone suggested it to me and I couldn't be bothered to think of another idea. Hello Hillmaniacs, it's Hillmanator, and I have been busy, and also I've been unmotivated, which is why I've fallen a little bit behind. Let's get on with the part you came for, which is of course a Q&A, because why would I bother to do anything interesting? Here we go, let's start off with, someone just sent 3 fire emojis, which is a very good question. I mean, how hot am I? Who knows? What direction should Disney take Star Wars after Episode 9? I have heard the leaks of Episode 9, and I'm hoping to see it at some point this week. Flipping lawnmower. So I'll do my best not to spoil anything, but yeah. Personally, I don't care about any of the new characters. Rather than focusing on Rey or Kylo or whoever survives whatever happens in this new movie, Rise of Skywalker, instead, I feel like they should focus on an entirely different era. Personally, what I would want to do would be to focus on Old Republic, way like thousands of years before anything that happens in the conventional Star Wars films, because that way, like, if it's so long ago, then like you can still have massive stakes and, you know, it can still affect the galaxy, but it won't affect the main line of Star Wars, so it, you know, it's a good balance. I'd like to focus, if I was choosing it, on maybe the first couple of Sith Lords. This part is definitely Legends, but technically speaking, the Jedi launched the first attack, so yeah, that could be something interesting to explore. And the only other thing that I really care about is that they go back and make the Force Unleashed games canon again, because they were great games. I mean, the second one wasn't brilliant, but the first one, at least, the first one was flipping amazing. Am I ever going to do any gaming videos? Now, I do have a couple of ideas for gaming videos. The main problem is that as of right now, obviously while I'm in New Zealand, I can't really do any sort of console games, but there are certain games that I can do on my laptop. The only other problem is that I can't exactly be buying a bunch of games, so it's going to be like weird stuff that I do. And there's another problem. One of my keys, one of my directional keys, is broken. So I can't play a lot of the games that I'd want to, but in general, yes, I am hoping that someday I'll be able to play a couple of games on my channel, and if possible, I'd like to get some of my friends involved. Who's cuter, Baby Groot or Baby Yoda? Neither. They're both horrific. Am I going to do a reaction video or reaction video series for the new series of Doctor Who? I'm thinking about it. Those of you who know me know that I absolutely love Doctor Who. I've watched it since I was 5. I've gone back and watched a whole bunch of the classic era. Obviously, I've watched all of the modern era. Doctor Who is one of the shows that really got me interested in media in general. So will I do a reaction to the new series? Maybe? Not certain. What do I think of all my friends' YouTube channels and which one is the best? This was sent by one of my friends who's a former YouTuber. I've got a couple of mates who did YouTube back in the day. I've got a couple of mates nowadays who do like 1 or 2 videos every so often. The people who I generally hang out with are Hillmanator, JDH Plus, who has now removed all of the videos from his channel, and Elitist Stone. I really like JDH Plus's content, but it's gone now, so he's kind of out of the running for number 1. So it comes down to Hillmanator or Elitist Stone. And whilst I like both, they serve really different niches. So they're both gaming content, by the way. Elitist Stone does this like stunt videos within GTA 5, I believe. But yeah, he edits them all together. They're really beautiful and very cinematic. Hillmanator, on the other hand, he hasn't uploaded in a while. I think it's about a year, maybe 2. But he does like let's plays, gameplay, footage. I don't know which one I'd say is better, but purely because he's still uploading today and the others aren't, I'm going to say that Elitist Stone is my favourite YouTuber, because he is currently a YouTuber. If Hillmanator or JDH Plus want to get back on board, get back on the game, then I would be more than willing to support them. Is Jar Jar Binks a Sith? Well, it depends what you mean by a Sith. If you mean what the expanded universe meant by a Sith, in terms of the actual species of a Sith, then no. But realistically speaking, we all know you're talking about a Sith Lord. Is Jar Jar Binks a Sith Lord? The likelihood is against it. However, we do know that George Lucas originally had plans for far more Jar Jar in the prequels. So, maybe, I guess, but it's very unlikely. Can I do the hacker yet? Not really, no. I vaguely remember the instruction we were given on my first week, but only very vaguely. Also, I feel like it'd be weird for me to just go up to a Kiwi and be like, hey, can you teach me the hacker? You know, it comes across a bit odd. Am I going to do another study with me or more uni student content? I am going to do more uni-related content, more than likely. The thing is, I don't have what I'm going to do planned out, really. I have a couple of loose ideas, and then I basically decide on the day of recording what I'm doing that day. It's not going to be for a while, because as of right now, we're in summer. And we're going to be in summer until mid-February. New Year's resolution. Now, I'm not sure whether you're asking how my previous ones have gone, or what ones I'm going to do this year. However, I am going to cover both of those on a video that is going to be coming out on towards the end of December. I think I might do it on the 31st. Who knows? What would I like for Christmas? Well, there is one thing which I've already got for Christmas. You may recognise it because it has appeared in a previous video, which would be this jacket. I absolutely love it. I was given it by my parents just before I left for New Zealand, because obviously I wasn't going to see them while I was over here, so they got me this. But it does get a bit warm while wearing it in the summer, so let's fix that quickly. There we go. And what else would I like for Christmas? Well, I'm always a big fan of books and DVDs. Those are pretty standard in my family. For them to get me a book or a DVD is pretty nice. The weird thing is, I haven't really thought that much about what I'd want for Christmas this year, because I'm not going to be getting it at Christmas. I know at least one of my siblings has said that she isn't going to even buy anything until I get back, because what's the point? And yeah, I agree with her, there's no point. Do I class myself as a study tuber? That's interesting. I never really thought about it. I feel like with study tubers, the main thing really is about helping other people revise and giving them tips, and then also like doing study with me's. And that, I don't think that's what my content mostly is. I don't know, my content's a bit too varied, I feel, to just be narrowed into purely a study tuber. I do some study tube-esque content, certainly. But I also do vlogs and crack vids and just whatever the heck I feel like on any particular day. So, I don't know, I don't think my channel is the sort that you can really pigeon box into a specific genre of YouTube. It'd definitely be better for me if I just pursued one single path, but I don't particularly want to. I've never particularly cared about how many subscribers I have. I'd like to have more, obviously, but I'm not going to not create what I want to. I'd rather just gradually build stuff with you guys, where it's literally just I'm doing what I want to do and you guys get to know me a bit better every time I upload, I feel, which is I feel it's a bit more personal. I don't know. Maybe it's just me having a superiority complex and not wanting to be pigeonholed, who knows. What content can we expect in the future? I just do what the heck I feel like. So, content we can expect in the future, bit difficult for me to narrow it down. I am hoping to get out some more pedantic pop cultures, because I said in the very first one that it's going to be a series, and I know that most people don't particularly care about them, but they bug me, so, you know. I'll probably do more weekly vlogs, that's almost certain at some point. I'm hoping to do a tour of Waikato Uni, but the problem is that when I originally wanted to do it, I fell ill, and so it was a bit inconvenient for me to do. And then now I went up the other day to, you know, check it all out, make sure that I could do it. And one of the buildings has been torn down. There's a massive construction site on campus. So it might be a while before I film that. Other than that, if I have enough money to travel about, there'll probably be a travel vlog at some point, because it's fun. Maybe more crack vids, maybe more reactions, who knows. Yeah, basically I have no clue what I'm doing. And finally I have the question of collabs. Now I've tried arranging collabs in the past, and it's difficult. Flipping heck, how noisy are they gonna be? I'd like to collab with people. In fact, there are a couple of people that I've messaged about collabing. The only person who I know does YouTube in New Zealand doesn't do it anymore, and they don't really want to, so, you know, not going to be collabing with them anytime soon. And then everyone else who I know does it, they're all back in the UK, so it'll be a while before I even meet up with any of them. Then the three YouTubers guys that I know best, as I said, both JDH and Parsonator have just stopped uploading. So, like, I'd love to still collaborate with them, but I think it'd be weird for them. I have asked them about it before, but who knows. And Elitist Stone's videos are a lot more artsy, almost, so I don't really see how we could collaborate. I'd still love to, it'd be great if we could, but his videos are very, very different to mine, and so I don't really know how we would collaborate. I've received things that have said, yeah, we'd like to collaborate, but it's never really gone further than that, which might be my fault in all honesty, because I have a bad habit of just not knowing how to talk to people. It's entirely possible that I just went, okay, that's great, and then never arranged it. But yes, hopefully, when I get back to the UK, I'll be able to do a couple of collaborations. That would be really fun. I'd love to do it. It's an interesting one. Do you hope to get famous? I don't think I particularly care. It'd be nice to, because if I'm famous, then, you know, that means that I actually have the money to do the things that I want to do, and then I'd, you know, be able to help out a bit more. But other than that, like, I don't particularly care. Fame has never really been all that important to me. I wouldn't mind if I was famous. I feel like I could handle most things if I was famous. But equally, if I never become famous, that's fine. I don't actively want to be a household name. Largely because all of the household names that I know are all either like exceptionally talented or exceptionally brilliant or exceptionally awful. So that's about a 50-50 split, and if I'm not famous, then that just means that I'm not exceptionally awful, you know. Well, it doesn't. It just means that I've not been discovered for it yet. What was the hardest part about moving to New Zealand for my year abroad? That's a good question. I mean, the visa was a flipping pain. I had so much trouble with the visa because of the way that the websites are run. There was obviously the fact that I ended up paying an extra £100 on top of what I had to already pay to renew my passport in Express, only to then be told, oh, you don't really need to do that, which was great. Finances in general have been really tough. When I first came here, I didn't get paid my student finance until like the very end of sort of August, and I originally thought it was going to be the start of October, so I was a little bit worried. I think a lot of people would say emotionally it's been hard, but for me, I don't know, I've been through some pretty tough things in my life, so I can handle a lot, and so for me, emotionally, I think I'm doing okay. How did I find settling into a new country? It was interesting, to say the least. I had a couple of struggles. That's a new word for you there, struggles. In general, I think it's okay because New Zealand is kind of similar to the UK. And so a lot of the things that I'm used to back home are the same here. My slang and my vocabulary, perfectly fine. I did have to tone down my sarcasm a lot because I am way too sarcastic in person. The time zones were a bit weird to get used to, and I think someone else sent a question on that. Do you find the time zone difference between where you are now and home difficult when talking to people back home? Yeah, because when I first arrived it was an 11-hour difference. I was 11 hours ahead, which meant that if they were calling me at what was 7 PM for them, I would, which is a perfectly reasonable time, it would wake me up at 6 AM. Then it shunted up to 12 when the UK left British summertime, and that was okay. I feel like that went relatively well. However, now we've shunted to 13 hours ahead of the UK, and it's been a bit of a higgledy-piggledy. Because my friends generally talk into the evening, it means that, I have to wake up quite early, and so it can be difficult. However, the good thing about my insomnia is that I have quite often been awake at ridiculous hours, which means that I can call back home a lot more. It's still not good, but it's better than it was when I first arrived, I think. Just gonna get a drink. I've got to remember to hydrate. One thing that has been tough on me these past couple of weeks has been that I made a lot of friends during first semester, but a lot of them were also study abroad students who were only there for that semester, and then the other ones lived like in various cities around New Zealand. So pretty much everyone who I met last semester is gone now. It does give me a chance to meet some new people, so that's good. Would I recommend for people to study abroad or just study at the University of Waikato? I'm assuming that means would I recommend someone from this uni study in another country? Now, it really depends on the sort of person that they are. If you're really good at making friends wherever you go, or if you are more extroverted, or just if you're less emotional, then studying abroad can be brilliant for you because it opens your eyes to a whole new way of life, and there are small little details that you've always thought about one way, and then someone will say, wait, what? And you'll get a whole new way of thinking. However, there are other people who studying abroad I wouldn't advise them to do. Those who have particularly strong emotional attachments to their friends and their families, for example, are really going to struggle when they get overseas. Because it's difficult. It is tough. Also, you have to be willing to put in a lot of work. So I'd take it on a case-by-case basis, look at how willing you are to work, how emotionally attached you are to people, whether you think that Skyping people is the same as talking in person, your relation to technology and how easy it is going to be to access technology, where you'd be going. Yeah, it's all really dependent, and also it's well worth looking at the price. a significant attraction towards it for me was that my tuition fees at Lancaster would be significantly lower this year because I did study abroad. So it may be worth considering that, but then again, you are also going to be paying more in terms of flights, visas, passports, and then you have to buy like everything all over again so that you can survive in a new country. What's the biggest thing I miss about home? Well, here's the thing, I am very good with emotions in terms of not particularly needing stuff, and so I don't really miss it as much as I know a lot of other people would, and as much as I probably should. Obviously, I do miss my friends, my family. It'd be nice to see them more, but at the same time, I didn't really see my family or friends all that much in my first year at uni, so I'm kind of used to that. I'll tell you one thing that I really miss: British food. Everyone assumes that British food is really bad. It's kind of an international stereotype, but those of us from the UK know that is an utter lie. We just told everyone that so that they wouldn't come and take our food. And whilst obviously I can make up some bangers and mash and a shepherd's pie and, you know, all of this stuff, things are still different. I do miss a good bit of pub grub. Haven't had any like proper pub meals since I've been here. Even cheap ones like Wetherspoons were pretty darn great. Toby Carvery, another absolute banger. I really miss a proper roast. I haven't had a roast in ages. And the closest we came was the Christmas dinner, which I suppose it was a kind of roast sort of thing, but it was essentially a bit of chicken, a bit of beef, and a couple of like tiny potato cubes. And admittedly, I could have had more. There were carrots and whatnot, but nothing that I particularly wanted. And yeah, I miss a proper roast. Also, I found recently that there is literally nowhere in Hamilton that serves a calzone. Nowhere. I've tried looking. I've looked on Google Maps. I've looked on Uber Eats. There's nothing. There's no calzones. I just want a calzone. I really want a calzone. Am I close to anyone now that I initially disliked? Am I? I gotta think through my social circle now. I wouldn't say close, but I am friends with some people who initially really rubbed me up the wrong way. There was this one guy who went to the same school as me at Baselig, and he was in the year below me, and he was friends with a lot of my friends. And he will willingly admit that he used to be very immature, and it really rubbed me up the wrong way. He annoyed me quite a bit, and I think he knew that. Towards the end of my time at Baselig, he really grew up really quickly, and I like him a lot. He's a good friend now, actually. In general though, people I didn't like who I'm now friends with. It's less people I didn't like and more people who I couldn't get a good read on that I eventually became good friends with. I think that's more often the case. I'm generally pretty good judge of character. I can normally work out pretty darn quickly whether I'm going to like you or not. So it's very easy for me to just go, no, I am not going to invest emotionally in you. Am I more likely to avoid conflict or engage it head on? I think it really depends on the conflict. Nowadays I feel like I'm far more likely to face it head on. I always used to avoid conflict. I think that's one of my big flaws from the past. I avoided conflict wherever I could. I would always try to appease everyone, even though, to be honest, I didn't really like most people. I'd still be like, well, I'm just being polite. This is what I'm supposed to do. Whereas nowadays, I'm more likely to call someone out when I think that they are doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But yeah, I think I have grown up a little bit. I'm more willing nowadays to actually stand up for myself. Do I see the glass as half empty or half full? I mean, it's fully empty. I'm definitely a glass half empty kind of guy. I suppose I'm a bit of a realist as well. I look at situations, I analyse them, I work on what the information actually is, but I'm kind of a realist and a pessimist almost. I'm on that end of the spectrum. How do I think I'll be when I get married? Well, to get married, I require someone to marry me. As of right now, I have no interest in literally anyone. In all honesty, I don't think it's going to happen until my late 20s at least. Probably my early 30s. Because I am pretty darn useless with relationships. The last relationship I was in was from 2014 to 2015, and that was it was almost entirely an intellectual relationship. It's going to be a while before I'm comfortable to get married to someone, probably. Heck, as a kid I didn't even want to get married. I hated the idea. If I could eat lunch with one famous person, who would it be? Now, are we restricting it to famous people who are alive, or am I allowed dead famous people? Because that's an entirely different question. If I had to restrict it to someone who's alive, I'd probably go Elon Musk. Not because he's my favourite celebrity. I generally prefer actors. I think they're generally some of the nicest people who you can meet. But I feel like Elon and me could have a really interesting discussion. Obviously he knows a bunch about astrophysics, which I would love to learn from. And then he's also a genius engineer. He's one of the coolest guys around. Even if you aren't into astrophysics or like electric cars or whatnot, Elon Musk is still pretty darn cool. So I think it'd be interesting to have a sit down lunch with him, have a conversation, you know. If we're allowing dead people, then I would probably go for Julius Caesar. He's well known by historians for being a dictator that was generally pretty okay. He was popular with the people, he was popular with the Senate, and yeah, he was a very popular guy. All of his policies apparently were really beneficial to Rome and also to the areas which Rome conquered. But then also he's slaughtered thousands of people in his campaigns in Gaul. So I feel like someone like that is just, he's an interesting person, and I feel like it'd be interesting to kind of figure out what makes him tick. On the one hand, you're generally seen as like one of, if not the best emperor that Rome ever had, possibly the best dictator that ever existed. Not that dictatorships are actually good, but you know, possibly the best dictator that ever existed. And on the other hand, you've slaughtered thousands of people. It's an interesting dichotomy. If I wasn't allowed that, then I would go for Stephen Hawking, easily. Not just because he's a genius and it'd be fascinating to talk to him, but also he was really funny. It's well known by anyone who ever met him. I'd have loved to have had lunch with Stephen Hawking if I could have. If I could give my younger self any advice, what would it be? I think this is a good question to end on, so what would I give advice as my younger self? Depends at which age. If I was going to give it to my 10-year-old self, I would say don't restrict yourself so much to the people who you hang out with. In my first kind of month living in Wales, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of this one guy, I kind of hang out with him quite a lot, and so I didn't really make that many friends. A common advice from age 15 up is just work harder. Don't be lazy. I was kind of lazy around my GCSEs and even with my A-levels a bit, so I definitely would have told myself to put in, you know, a little bit more. And if I were to tell myself something before I went to university, it would be don't waste the opportunities that you are given. I went to the very first training session for Fencing Society last year, and I loved it. I really did. Then the time after that, I didn't know where it was or when it was. And I didn't want to have to ask anyone because that'd be awkward. So I just never went. And yeah, I've had one lesson of fencing in my life, even though it's something I enjoyed when I did it. Anyway, I have now recorded over an hour of footage, so I am going to stop here. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something about me, and I hope that I didn't irritate you too much with all of these rampant questions. Okay, thanks for watching all. I shall catch you next time.